The automatic doors of Super Save slid open with a tired whoosh as I walked in, my steel-toed boots still crusted with dried concrete from the job site. It was 8:30 on a Thursday night, and all I wanted was a cold bottle of water and maybe a protein bar before heading home to River City. The fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, bathing everything in that unforgiving greenish glow that made everyone look half sick. I moved through the aisles, grabbed what I needed, and headed straight for the express checkout. 10 items or less, printed in bold red letters, big enough for anyone to see. And that's when I spotted her. Susan Vance. She was parked in front of the express register with a cart so overloaded it looked like she was prepping for the end of civilization. The teenage cashier, his name tag read Justin, was nervously trying to reason with her, his voice trembling as he explained that the lane was for small purchases only. Susan wasn't having it. Her voice carried across the entire front of the store like a megaphone, proclaiming that her time was more valuable than everyone else's, and that rules were for people who didn't matter. I stood behind her, clutching my 2 little items, watching the scene unfold like a bad sitcom. She looked every inch the stereotype, flawless blonde hair that probably cost a fortune. Designer sunglasses perched on her head, despite it being dark outside, and a pristine tennis outfit that had definitely never seen a tennis court. Her cart was a mountain of groceries, sparkling water by the case, organic veggies wrapped like museum artifacts, and enough frozen dinners to fill a bunker. Poor Justin tried again, nervously clearing his throat. "Ma'am, this is the express lane," but Susan cut him off mid-sentence. She launched into a speech about being a Platinum Rewards member who had shopped there for 15 years and therefore had earned the right to use whatever lane she pleased. Justin looked like he was about to melt into the floor tiles. As she droned on about how the store should be grateful for her business, I decided enough was enough. Keeping my tone calm, I pointed out that 3 full-service registers were completely open and would probably ring her up faster. That's when she spun on me. So fast, I half expected a sonic boom. Her eyes narrowed as they flicked over my dusty clothes, my worn boots, my calloused hands. Then came the condescending tone. "People in your tax bracket," she sneered, "wouldn't understand how busy someone like me is. I have a charity gala meeting at 9 o'clock. I don't have time to wait in line with common shoppers." I almost laughed at the absurdity of someone bragging about charity while being utterly selfish in real life. The line behind me was growing longer and tenser. An elderly man clutching a loaf of bread and a carton of milk sighed heavily. A young mom trying to calm a crying baby shifted from foot to foot, her patience visibly cracking. But Susan didn't care. She began unloading her mountain of groceries slowly, pausing to inspect each item as if performing on stage. When Justin timidly suggested she move to another lane, she demanded to see the manager immediately, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She accused him of discrimination and even threatened to have him fired. And then, because apparently she hadn't humiliated herself enough, Susan glanced at my items resting at the edge of the conveyor belt. With one sweeping motion, she knocked them both off. My bottle of water rolled under the candy display while the protein bar skidded across the tile. "If you're in such a hurry," she announced, "you should have gotten here earlier. Besides, construction workers get paid by the hour, don't they? What's the rush?" The entire store froze. The music seemed to stop mid-beat. Justin's jaw dropped. The old man muttered, "People these days." The young mom had her phone out, clearly recording every second. I bent down to pick up my things, keeping my voice steady even though my pulse was pounding. Before I could say a word, Justin's trembling hand reached for the intercom. "Manager to express checkout." His shaky voice echoed through the store. "Manager to express checkout immediately." Susan seemed thrilled when Justin called for the manager, clearly assuming reinforcements were on the way to defend her. She began announcing loudly to anyone within a 5-aisle radius that she personally knew the district manager and would be filing an official complaint about the horrendous treatment she'd received. A woman in her 40s appeared from the back, her posture calm but commanding. Her name tag read Brenda. You could tell instantly that she'd been doing this for years. The kind of manager who'd seen it all and no longer had the patience for theatrics. Brenda took one sweeping glance at the scene. It's the overflowing cart clogging the express lane, the irritated crowd, Justin's pale face, and Susan's defensive stance. And I could practically see her connect the dots. With a calm, professional tone, she asked Susan to move her cart to one of the open regular checkout lanes. Susan's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? I want your employee number," she snapped, her voice dripping venom. "I'll be contacting corporate about this harassment. This is a blatant act of discrimination against successful customers. You people are clearly jealous because I drive a luxury vehicle." Brenda didn't flinch, though. I saw her jaw tighten slightly. What happened next was poetic justice. Brenda pulled out her phone and made a brief call. Within minutes, 2 uniformed security guards appeared and began quietly wheeling Susan's overflowing cart away from the express register. Susan erupted. "That's theft. Assault. I'm calling the police," she shrieked, her voice echoing through the store. The guards ignored her protests, calmly escorting her groceries toward customer service while Brenda explained, firmly but politely, that Susan's behavior had disrupted business and that she would not be permitted to complete her purchase that evening. The tension in the air began to dissolve as customers exchanged knowing looks. Someone behind me chuckled softly. Then, one by one, people started speaking up. Apparently, everyone knew Susan Vance, the older man. Behind me said she once made a clerk carry her bags to her car during a thunderstorm while she stayed dry under her umbrella. The young mother added that just last month, Susan had complained to management because her baby cried too loudly in an aisle. Susan's face flushed a deep shade of purple as she realized she was outnumbered. She clutched her phone like a lifeline, threatening to call corporate, the local news, and her lawyer all at once. That's when Brenda calmly mentioned the one thing that shut her down cold. "Ma'am, the store security cameras recorded you knocking this customer's items onto the floor. That could be considered assault. Are you sure you want to involve law enforcement?" You could feel the shift. Susan's confidence cracked. Her eyes darted from Brenda to me to the crowd of witnesses. Oh, subtly. Her tone softened. She stammered that it had all been a misunderstanding, that she'd just had a stressful day, that surely reasonable adults could work things out. Brenda didn't budge. "I'm afraid store policy requires that you leave," she said evenly. "You're banned from Super, save for 30 days. And with that, the guards escorted Susan toward the exit. On her way out, she tried to salvage a shred of dignity by announcing, "I'll be taking my considerable business elsewhere." The spontaneous round of applause that erupted nearly shook the walls. Even Justin cracked a smile as the doors closed behind her. Through the front windows, we could see Susan outside in the parking lot, pacing beside her gleaming SUV, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing wildly as if trying to convince someone that she'd been the victim. Justin rang. Up my 2 items, visibly relieved. "Thanks for staying calm, sir," he said. I smiled. "You handled yourself like a pro kid." I made sure to tell Brenda the same before heading out. As I walked to my truck, Susan was still out there, sitting in her car under the glow of the parking lot lights, probably trying to figure out what store would let her shop next. A week later, I stopped by Super Save again. Justin spotted me and immediately grinned. "You're gonna love this," he said. He told me that Susan had tried to get around her ban by sending her husband to do her shopping. But instead of arguing, the man had simply sighed with relief when Brenda explained why his wife wasn't allowed back. He'd even apologized on her behalf, admitting he'd been encouraging her to try anger management therapy for years. Brenda also mentioned that the store had saved the surveillance footage of the incident and would support me if I wanted to press charges. Declined. Honestly, the public humiliation and 30-day ban seemed like justice enough, but fate, or maybe karma, had other plans. It turned out that one of the customers recording the scene that night happened to be a member of the very charity board running the gala Susan had been bragging about. The video quickly made its way to the organization's leadership. According to a post on the community Facebook page, the board held an emergency meeting after watching the footage. They were horrified that someone representing their cause had behaved so disgracefully in public. Susan Vance was officially removed as chair of the Gala Planning Committee. The letter, which someone on the board later shared online, stated that her actions did not reflect the organization's values of compassion, respect, and humility toward all individuals, regardless of occupation or social status. She was also barred from attending the event she'd spent 6 months planning. The board noted that her conduct had brought negative attention to the charity and could jeopardize donor relationships. And just like that, River City's most entitled shopper learned the one lesson she'd never gotten from her Platinum membership, that no amount of status or money could save you from the consequences of your own behavior.